Hello friends, now I've been using the DJI Spark for well over a year now on my travels. It's an awesome entry-level drone, and if you have one or if you're thinking of getting one, I'm going to share with you my top tips for how you can get the most out of this drone and how you can get those awesome, epic, cinematic style drone shots. But just because it is entry level, it doesn't mean you still can't get the same epic cinematic style drone shots that you want to get from one of those maybe more expensive drones. And that's what I'm going to show you today. Okay, number one, before you even start flying your drone, you're going to want to do two things. First of all, open up your DJI Go application. Tap on this little icon on the right hand side and that's going to open up your video settings. And what you want to do is you want to change from auto to manual. Going to manual settings means that you can set your exposure and you can lock it for each of your shots, which is going to become really important because you don't want your exposure settings changing, going from light to dark and having the drone do it all for you. That's fine when you're just starting out, but if you want to be making your footage look really epic, really cinematic and as good as you can, then you really want to lock that exposure each time you're taking a new shot. Now secondly, click on this other icon at the top here, and if you can see the histogram, make sure histogram is turned on so you can always see your exposure settings at any one time. Now if you've never used a histogram in exposure settings before, just go out and practice, but basically all you want to do is make sure that that curve, which represents all the light coming into the sensor, that curve is in between the left hand side and the right hand side. It's not pushed off one way so things are too dark, and it's not pushed off the other way so things are too light. Set your shot up, then set your exposure, and then record. That's the process that I follow. This can be a bit overused, but the rule of thirds is kind of really important if you want to get those cinematic style shots. So make sure you turn your grid on so you can see whereabouts your top third, bottom third, left third, right third, and also your center points are when you're actually filming, and use those when you're setting up shots just to make things a lot more aesthetically pleasing and to really fit into those rule of thirds, which I know are meant to be broken as well sometimes, but if you're just starting out and you want to try and get some sort of classic drone style cinematic shots, I always think if you try and follow that rule of thirds, it's going to make things look a lot more pleasing on the eye than if you're just kind of roughly guessing whereabouts to put things on screen. Enough setup, let's get this thing into the air. When you're filming your shots and you want motion in the shots, make sure you only have one direction of motion at any one time. Don't change your motion halfway through the shot because that jerkiness really gives away the fact that you're using a drone. And one of the key things that you want is you want people not to realize you're using a drone. You want your drone shots to seamlessly flow with the rest of the shots that you're using in your video. Drones are really good at doing basic tracking shots, and that's the next thing I want you to try. And the easy way to do that is basically set your drone at an altitude, get your rule of thirds set up so you've got something nicely positioned in frame, and just push the joystick left or right, whichever way you want to track, and allow the drone to move across the scene and track from one way to the other. Next up, now drones are really good at establishing a shot, which means they can help tell the person watching where you are without having to actually tell them where you are. It's show versus tell. And a great way to do that is with a reveal. Now the reveal shot basically means the drone is flying somewhere, and as it does, it reveals something new that wasn't there before. Now it can be hard to actually fly the drone into the exact position that you want it to be in so you've got that final shot beautifully framed. So what I actually do is reverse it. I frame the shot exactly how I want it, and then I fly the drone away. So it's actually taking the subject out of frame, and then in my Final Cut Pro or whichever editing software you're using, I just reverse the clip. Next tip is all to do with lighting. It's just gone 8 o'clock in the morning here in Melbourne. The sun came up about an hour ago, and the lighting is really nice right now. I always recommend if you're going to fly your drone, try and fly it either first thing in the morning or last thing at night when you've just got that beautiful either golden hour if you can get it, or still having a nice low sun. So you get all these nice textures in the sky. I always try and film with the sun behind the drone, so that's helping light whatever subject you're focusing on. I don't really like to film into the sun because I don't think these drones do very well filming directly into the sun. You get these big areas of white where everything's washed out. Oh, and actually as a bonus tip, if you've got the sun behind the drone and you're focusing on something on the ground, be careful not to get your own drone shadow in the shot. because like I said earlier, you kind of want these shots to not be obvious that you're using a drone to film them with. And the obvious way to tell someone you're filming with a drone is when the drone shadow goes right across the foreground in front of you. Okay, next up, 2 tips that kind of contradict each other. The first of which is shoot low down. What I mean by that is keep your drone actually low down by the ground, so you're not actually way up high like you would traditionally associate drone footage with. When you've got your drone low down and you're flying past a single subject, it's like you've basically got a stabilized shot. It's like using a camera on a gimbal, but instead you're using your drone. And again, you're not making it obvious that you're using a drone to take that shot. Follow shots are really good for this kind of thing as well, where you put the drone behind someone and you have that someone either walk towards the drone or away from them. Once again, it's not obvious you're using a drone to film that, and you get that really nice smooth motion as that person's walking past the camera. And following on from that, like I said, of course, the reverse is send your drone up as high as you legally can, obviously, but try and get your drone nice and high and then point the camera straight down. And this shot, this style of shot, is one of my favorites with a drone because you pretty much can't get it with any other type of camera out there unless you are flying in an aircraft or chartering a helicopter. And following on from that, my next tip is use locked shots wherever you can, which is set the drone and then don't move it. So whilst of course you can move the drone and get those beautiful moving pictures, if you position the drone and then have the thing that you're focusing on move for you, I actually think it gives you a slightly different feel, and once again, it makes the user forget that they're looking at footage that's being shot by a drone. Alright, those are just some of my tips for how I make my drone footage more cinematic. Let me know in the comments below what some of your tips are. If you liked this, then like this. If you're new to the channel, do click on subscribe. There's new aviation and travel content like this that comes out a couple of times a week here on the channel. Otherwise, thanks as always for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.